All right, let's do something a little different today. It's Friday. It's beautiful out. Little colder than it's been in the last couple last couple weeks, but that's all right. It is fall technically, so you know what? Let's do something a little different. Let's go down my X feed and let's look at what's going on in the world, what's popping up, and we'll talk about it. Hopefully this won't be too long, won't be too crazy. I'll try not to be too much of an obnoxious jerk on this one. But yeah, let's have a little fun with it. All right. So here we go. All right. So one of the first things that pops up, the United States. This is from Megatron. The United States blocks Iran from 2026 FIFA World Draw over Israel. The United States just denied visas to Iran's national football delegation, stopping them from attending the 2026 World Cup draw. This includes the federation president, head coach, and 7 senior staff. Um, I don't understand the point of this. So you don't want their team or their management playing in the 2026 FIFA World Cup simply because of the issues between Iran and Israel. Didn't you pause the war between Israel and Iran? I thought that was stopped. I thought that was saved. I thought that was another one in the bucket of wars that have been prevented. If you want to prevent conflict, one of the best ways to do it is to have countries engage each other positively. I mean, the Nazis hosted the Olympics and every country pretty much participated and there were no problems. So I don't understand how how blocking them from coming here to participate does anything. I mean, if you want to negotiate in good faith with Iran, which I thought was the point, I expect you to treat them with respect until they deserve to be treated differently. And Trump, what he ran on was the concept that he was, the peace president and the foreign policy of the last 25 years didn't work, et cetera, et cetera. Remember, Donald Trump got into some hot water with the Bush administration early on in the Bush with the Bush administration because he was critiquing the war in Iraq. He was asking questions about 9/11, and he said he got a visit from somebody in the government at his Trump Tower over it. So I don't understand how that guy is the same guy who thinks that just because Israel doesn't like Iran, don't let them in. I mean, you're really like, you're pushing it here. I don't understand this move at all. Uh, this could be something worth looking at. The If AI seems a little spooky, that's because it's rooted in the occult. Interesting. Okay. And what's going on? Am I frozen here? Why can't I scroll down? All right, hold on, folks. This is what happens when we go live like that. All right. From Zhao Deshuai, the number for Berlin jumps up to 1.8 million if you include foreign-born Germany German citizens, I think she means, and second generation immigrants. It's around half the population of Berlin. So the number of foreigners in Berlin versus the number of foreigners in China as a whole. I mean, I don't know if that's a compliment or not. I mean, I understand what she's saying. Like, there's been a lot of immigration questions and issues with Europe, and Germany is one of those countries taking on a lot of people. There's been a lot of conflict. You've had terrorist attacks and all that stuff. But China, 1.4 billion people. Are you saying you have less than a million foreigners out of 1.4 billion? I mean that seems like low, right? Especially because they have a population issue also over there, where you think they actually would want some foreigners, especially foreign females, because they need more women and they need more women having children. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, I get what she's saying. They've been reckless, Germany. It's been reckless. I don't want to demagogue people and immigrants. That's not the point. We have to respect people. But every country that has ever existed, especially the successful ones, have had a strong border. You know, you have to have a strong border. You have to have a smart. You could have a very empathetic and heartfelt positive immigration system, but it can't be weak and lawless, right? Because you have an obligation to protect your citizens, and if you don't know who's coming and going out of your country, that's a problem. So that is something that we need to learn. Like even countries on all spectrums, quote unquote, right wing, quote unquote, communist, whatever. All these countries have good borders. The United States has one of the worst borders in the world. It's been, I mean, now it's stronger, but at one point it was almost borderless, which is almost unconscionable when you think about it. How do you have an organized government and have no border? So I understand what she's saying. But immigration, it's a hot topic. It's been reckless in Europe for sure. What is this? Richard Greer and Donald Trump. We have a president who's not only crazy, he's a dark presence, and it's happened so quickly. 6 months, he's almost destroyed our country. I mean, I don't know, Richard. I don't think he's destroyed the country. I think there are some things he's doing that I don't understand. That I think are terrible. Like I think his policy with Israel is questionable at best. I don't understand what he's doing there, and I think he's also totally unfocused. Like I don't like the way he's handling Ukraine now because I liked in the beginning when he said they're either going to resolve it or we're out. And instead of being out, we're getting more involved again, and I don't understand that. Like we have problems here, we have homeless here, we have people that are in need here. We have job issues. We have finish your trade, finish the things you need to do here, start building. Let's do what you do best, right? We have the CEO of Trump International as our president. Just take a step back and think about that. We have the CEO of Trump International as our president. If you think about it in that way, you have the CEO of one of the biggest real estate companies in the history of mankind, and he's the president of the United States. So, what are the things you would expect to be good at that we'd be focusing on, right? You expect him to be good at trade and building. And I want him to spend the next 3.5 years doing trade and doing building. And guess what? Nobody's going to be able to stop him because the Constitution says that the president is supposed to be doing trade deals. That's actually what they're supposed to be doing. A lot of stuff presidents do is not in the Constitution. 3 million executive orders, that's not what I want him doing. I don't need an executive order for someone to take a shit. I don't need that. I need him to focus on building and I need him to focus on trade. And if he can do those things, that's taking advantage of his skill set. Now, if we want a social worker to be the president of the United States, then they can focus on social working stuff. But when you have the former chief executive of Trump International as the president of the United States, I want him focused on those things. Now Richard Greer, typical Hollywood. They just want to complain about. I mean, uh, I don't think anybody from Hollywood should be talking about darkness anywhere else. There's no place on earth that's more dark than Hollywood. Just the tip of the iceberg over there, right? All right, Burkina Faso's Ibrahim Traore states, "We are fighting a war for our independence, not just a war on terrorism. Our soldiers would rather die than live under domination. It is a war for the soul of Burkina Faso." Wow, we will prevail. Very interesting. Very interesting. Look, he is a young um he is a young charismatic figure. We've seen this come and go before, especially in the global south, quote unquote third world. I don't want to be disrespectful, but we've seen this come and go before where you have leaders who they do stand up to the rest of the world, the organized first world, and they say we are not going to take it anymore. And listen, you got to respect him for his convictions. his consistency, and it seems like the people of his nation are behind him, and that's really what matters. Are they behind him? It's not up to me to decide what they should do with their country. It's up to their people. And if their people like this man and they respect him and they want to follow him, then, God bless him. And I wish him nothing but the best. Look, so many countries in Africa have been subjugated over the years by so many different entities, subjugated by religion, subjugated by other nations, imperialism, bad debt trade deals, or taking money loans that lead to debt finance to overwhelming debt, crippling finances. I get it. So look, good for him. If he can rally the people and he can fix the economy there, that would be great. Let's see. Will Kane, targeted killings of Christians in Nigeria. Wow. So finally somebody says it.
The attacks by the Fulani herdsmen, especially in the town of Bokos, where we have gone for a lot of emergency response to the recent crisis that is going on.
And what is happening, Paul? As I understand it, Islamic fundamentalist tribes and groups like Boko Haram are attacking Christians. And I've seen videos, Paul. I'm not capable at this time of sharing those videos, but I've seen these videos. It appears to me they come riding into town, bullets flying, gunfire exploding all over the place, and people running for their lives.
These are all calculated attacks by the Fulani herdsmen. They go into villages, killing and shooting at people. They destroy houses, they destroy a lot of churches, and then they render most of this community useless.
And Paul, you mentioned it's been going on since 2009. We can share the numbers. We have shared the numbers. I think it's upwards of 100,000 people that have died. But from your perspective on the ground, like how devastating has this been to the Christian community in Nigeria?
It is very, very, very devastating.
Let me just read this for in case you're not seeing it. So, report on Christians, and this is according to Inter-Society as of August 2025. 125,000 Christians killed since 2009. 7,000 Christians killed during the first 220 days of 2025 alone. 19,100 churches since wow. I mean, I don't understand what now. Again, free Palestine, the Palestinians. I understand, like, people are emotional about Palestine and what's going on with Gaza, but there should be just as much recognition of Christians being hunted and killed in Syria and in Nigeria. The idea that just because it's Islamists doing it, we don't want to report it. I'm all for reporting the crimes of Zionists. If Zionists commit a crime, just like Islamists commit a crime, just like if a Christian commits a crime, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're systematically murdering people just because of their religion, that's not okay. That's not okay. So I don't understand why this is happening, but this is ridiculous that this is occurring. And I've seen some of the videos that Will Kane is talking about, and I understand why he can't share them on the network. It's sick. And also, don't just talk about Nigeria, talk about Syria. One of the reasons they don't want to talk about Syria is because we put a former head of ISIS and Al-Qaeda as the president of Syria, and we threw out a former secular Alawite leader whose father happened to be loyal to the Russians. That was the only reason why. That, along with the fact that his loyalty to the Russians prevented Burisma from building and negotiating on the building of an oil pipeline from Syria to Ukraine. This is one of the reasons why the American government supported the rebels in the civil war against Assad. Assad was an Alawite. The Alawites, Alawites, for those who aren't familiar, Alawite is a sect of Islam, but Alawite kind of combines Zoroastrianism, I believe, Shiite, Shiite Islam, and some parts of other religions. And the largest sect of Alawites, I believe, are in Syria, and they're being persecuted. The Druze, ZE Druze. They are being persecuted, as well as the Christians now. Now that this psycho former terrorist is now the leader of Syria, which is absolutely absurd. So yeah, just persecutions all around. We selectively talk about them. Hey, shout out to the ACP Connecticut. They went up to, I'll just read it. ACP Connecticut took to the streets to support I am union machinists, sorry, in their strike against Pratt and Whitney, a prominent American aerospace manufacturing company with no military contracts. And while conducting interviews with, and distributing coffee and pizza to the striking workers, we made it clear that we supported the workers fighting to preserve their way of life. It also presented alternatives to the current economic system that thrive off the war mongering and expansionism. Yeah, this was pretty cool. I did watch this. I won't play this all for you now. And shout out to ACP for whatever you may think of the American Communist Party and communists and whatever. You have to give credit to these people, the hustle, the work ethic, the willingness to go out and not only to talk to people, support people, but also they put out some effort to do charity work, they did this awesome thing in California that I'm begging them to do in New York or New Jersey. I am begging the ACP, please do a workshop in New York or New Jersey like you did in California, where you teach people trade skills. Please do that. That looked amazing. That's what we need. We need more people learning those skills so that they become invaluable members of the community. Take somebody like myself who's worked in financial services, teach me a trade so then I can do both. I can work on a spreadsheet and use a hammer and a saw. Let's go. That was awesome. Please do that on the East Coast. Please. I am asking for you to do that. Amazing. Just amazing. Good for them, though. A party of action here. All right, sorry, we froze out here. Here we go. 15 years after the U.S. engineered the Arab Spring, color revolutions remain U.S. uncontested superweapon. From Nepal to Indonesia, now across Africa, the U.S. via the NED, together with U.S.-based social media monopolies, are weaponizing populations against their own national peace and stability, overthrowing governments, and making way. Despite the details of how the U.S. does this made public years ago, nations individually and blocs like BRICS, ASEAN, and SCO have utterly failed to secure information space or provide alternatives to US-based controlled social media monopolies. Well, that'll come. I mean, social media, look, with all due respect to X and all this great American social media companies, and I guess Telegram and Red Note, which, Red Note pissed me off today. For some reason, they like flagged my account and I couldn't even read the note because it wasn't in English. I couldn't understand what the flag was for. So I basically I can't post anything on there. So I had to delete my account. And I'll probably go in at some point, maybe, maybe in a little while, but I don't feel like dealing with it right now. It just kind of pissed me off. Um, I'm like, whatever, guys. Not smart. I love that app because I love talking to people directly in China, but I don't understand why that happened. Anyway, at some point, BRICS nations are going to build alternative social media companies and apps, and everybody in the West, like the people, they're all going to join. So that's going to happen. It's just, I'm surprised it hasn't already happened, like where there's like a BRICS social media, like that's not just Chinese, not just Russian, but just a combined one that, and they have English options so that people in the US and other parts of Europe can join. Because clearly there's a divide between the people who are not involved and not in favor of some of this nonsense and who live, unfortunately, in the West and want to connect. Let's see, based Hungary. Hungary will need to use all of its strength to remain out of the war on Russia. Prime Minister Hungary. Absolutely. Look, Viktor Orban, for those of you who don't like him because he's conservative or whatever, you have to give him credit. He's sticking to his convictions that he does not want to drag Hungary into a war with Russia. And for some historical perspective, Hungary, remember the Austro-Hungarian Empire? They got dragged into a war with Russia in World War One, and they never recovered. And then in World War II, a lot of Hungarians, even though a lot of them empathized with the Germans because they wanted to push the Soviet Union back off of their area, and then they got basically sold out by the West. This is another reason why they're smart to not want to fight Russia. The last time that they were involved in a war like this, they were sold out along with half of Europe by the Western countries to the Soviet Union. They have no interest in having Moscow control them again. And I'm not disrespecting Moscow, but what I'm saying is Hungary is making it clear we don't have a problem with Russia. We don't want to make a problem with Russia. We don't want to start a war and fight a war for no reason. And the rest of the West is pressing on this man and pushing him and pushing him and pushing him. They want to see Hungary get involved in a way that they're not comfortable. And how are they a sovereign nation if they're being pressed into war? So good for him. More peace, never a bad thing. National Day in China. Congratulations. Happy National Day to everybody in China. What the heck is this? This is Fashion Week? Oh, this is the West, folks. This is the West. Oh. This is my synagogue today in the center of New York City. Imagine when Mamdani becomes New York City mayor, defunding NYPD or repositioning them away from known threats on lives of Jews in synagogues and schools, a dog whistle for violence and murder and Antifa or Intifada. Well, I mean, look, yeah, that's definitely, look, I understand that concern. You know, Mamdani, this is something he's going to have to address continually over time. He's going to have to address uh the the quote unquote the dog whistle, the fear, right? That he is not that he is not is he going to protect a vulnerable community? Like, look, there's a lot of people in New York, a lot of Jewish people that have a lot of money and have influence, and they're going to be fine. They'll move away from the city if they feel threatened. But there are a lot of normal people who happen to be Jewish who haven't committed any crimes, who are innocent, and they are going to bear the brunt of all the rage. And yeah, I don't know if you know this, especially for my friends who are in China or in other parts of the world, or even other parts of the country where there aren't a lot of Jewish people. But in the Northeast, there are a lot of synagogues that have police protection and round the clock security. Like, this is normal. I've seen this for years. I've seen this in neighborhoods, even when there wasn't a quote unquote like intifada, but just in general, like there's always been consistent police presence in front of synagogues. Now, I think they should be in front of churches based on the statistics. Churches are more likely to be shot at or burned because the violence against Christians is much worse than the violence against Jews now. It's not even close. So I'm not sure why there isn't more of an effort to protect churches, but that's because nobody in the West cares about Christians, right? And they certainly don't care about Christians from the Mesopotamia or Africa because those are original Christians and their bloodline goes back to the time of Jesus. But we could talk about that another time. But anyway, this is certainly a concern. I totally understand why he's concerned, and he should be concerned. Seattle mayor and wokeness count is kind of funny. Let's see. When a man does 6 or 7 crimes, we do not know his life story. Maybe he was hungry. Therefore, I have zero desire jailing him. Oh boy. Look, I think I think this speaks to two different currents that run next to each other. Using the concept of hunger and like empathy to get people angry. There's a lot of people out there who identify as socialists or liberal progressive who are going to say, "Damn right, we're not putting him in jail. I'm not supporting the prison industrial complex and all that." And I get it. That is a terrible system. We know that there are a lot of innocent people that get put in the system. It ruins their lives. Going to jail, it's a serious thing. I don't want to have people be hurt that don't have to be hurt. So I totally agree. But you also have to understand that we are not jailing violent criminals. We have people like, think of it this way. If somebody assaults somebody, stabs somebody, whether it's for food or not, you cannot allow that person to just run free. That so many crimes, so many crimes are done by repeat offenders. And if you're not, as a system, if you don't arrest people for crimes, but also if you don't cure the economic problems that drive a lot of crime, if you don't have the mental institutions to help people who maybe they shouldn't be in jail, maybe they have real issues. Well, if we don't have a system, we don't have money for that, we don't have the care for that, that's a failure of the system also. So this is a total failure by every angle. But the solution is not to demagogue the victims of crime who are begging for people who commit those crimes to be held accountable. That is not a solution either. So everybody's failing here, including the mayor here of Seattle, because if that person is allowed to commit a crime just because they can claim hunger, why can't I do the same thing? Why should I work? Why should I go through life struggling to get by when I can commit a crime and just claim some kind of empirical existential issue that is generically accepted as an excuse, right? So we have to be sensitive to everybody, and I'm just not seeing that sensitivity all around. Fix the system, fix the economy. We need to make sure we shouldn't have hungry people in this country. It's embarrassing. We have an abundance of food. It's embarrassing to have homeless people, and it's a disgrace to have hungry people. There's no reason for that. Disgrace. So that I think has to be addressed. But this is not the answer here. This is not the answer. Sun Tzu's pragmatism was bound to the survival of the state. Machiavelli's cynicism was bound to the vanity of the rulers. History proves it. The United States inherited Machiavelli's logic, endless wars, occupations. United States is like a combination of many things. It's the Bohemian Illuminati. The 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 smoldering, or I guess the building up to the French Revolution, which happened right after our revolution. I mean, there's a lot. It's a combination of a lot of things. Imperialism tends to repeat itself, though, and I don't think we even have Sun Tzu's his wisdom, because we're not chess. We basically we're a battering ram. British mercenary Edward. I'm sorry, I don't know what the MRC is supposed to be. Edward Harris, responsible for leading the Kursk offensive, has taken his own life. What? A NATO officer who led Ukraine into Russia's Kursk claimed the losses were so many and unbearable. He blamed AFU command and stepped down, but the post-traumatic syndrome never. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, good. What are we doing? You see, this is the other part. War. This is what war does to people. I'm not saying that you don't have to fight sometimes, you do. But this is an unnecessary war. And now these kids don't have a father because of this stupid war. Because some rich people in the UK and some rich people in Basel, Switzerland, and some rich people in Virginia, Northern Virginia, and DC or wherever, New York, because they want to send young people to their death to prove a point against Russia. Pathetic. Send your own fucking kids. Oh yeah, this is the new world's tallest bridge. It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. $300 million, by the way. This bridge costs $300 million, and they've already made 2% of that back because of tourism. $300 million for the tallest bridge in the world. It costs more than that to build one of our new fighter jets. The official story of what happened on 9/11. Oh yeah, I did watch the first two episodes. I recommend everybody to watch it. It's chilling, but it's really good. Um Britain and Germany, blah, 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 electricity price of 4 times higher than in Hungary. Who has it? No wonder they hate Orban. Yeah, I mean, look, you're in two countries that are relying on Russian energy, and you ban it, and then look, you need coal, you need natural gas, you need oil, and your wind and solar programs are not what the Chinese have. The Chinese use everything, by the way. They also have nuclear. You don't have nuclear. So what did you expect? And then the citizens that are already getting crushed by the economy, it just adds another layer to it. If you don't have energy, you can't do anything. So yeah, I mean that's awful. So she says the only country that is provoking China, Iran, and Russia towards the U.S. U.S. is boasting that it is preparing for war all the time and always blames China all the time for its failure. I mean, look, no, we don't want war. Americans don't want war. There are people in government that don't want war. Thomas Massey, Rand Paul. There are people out there that don't want any part of a war. Um, are there war hawks in our government? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, the only thing I could ask of you in your country is to encourage your connections to Putin, to press him, to press Trump, and to get together and get something done to end the war in Ukraine, and hopefully no other war escalates. Jason Smith, he lives in China. He's very pro China, which is fine. Um, but yeah, I mean, his comments usually talks about the same thing, like how terrible America is, how great it is over there. I'm sure he's on some kind of watch list. I'm sure I might be on there too, but it's just kind of funny because it's like every post of his is the same at this point. It's not that he's wrong, and maybe that's sad that he's made a whole career out of that kind of commentary, but it's true. Like crime is high, incarceration is the highest in the world. What is clear, incarceration is treating the symptoms of the U.S. Blah, 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 solving the underlying problems, the reduce that. Free vocational training for adults. Yeah, I mean, look, I agree. The way you solve crime is through socioeconomics. You have to improve the economics. Um, you have to. Colombia just made sure Muslims can't marry kids no more in their country. It is now law. Thank God for that. Colombia. Okay, she misspelled it here. That's the school. This is the country. Okay. So they banned what? Like underage marriage? All right. Interesting. Boy, here we go. Breaking. Johnson just confirmed that Dems have made a perilous mistake by allowing the Schumer shutdown. I hope Dems are ready to kiss their deep state goodbye. When Congress decides to turn off the lights, it shifts the authority to the executive branch. That is how it works. Well, I mean, look, that's partially true. If in these situations you're basically leaving Trump on his own, which probably isn't what they want. But at the same time, this is a failure of everybody. The first question is, why do you have to have a renegotiation on shutdown every 6 months? That shows me that you're running out of money. So that's the first problem. Second thing is, can anybody in DC balance a budget? No. Third problem is, are you making any real cuts? Any cuts to things like the 800 military bases? The budget that you're wasting on frivolous things like the science studies of like same-sex frogs and things like that. Like, are you guys actually making these cuts? What about all the NGOs that are all like basically political funding mechanisms? Like they don't do anything like charitable or anything like that. Are you cutting funding to that? Like, what's going on? Like, this is just it's a grift from both sides. They both want to play politics and blame each other. Frankly, I think the real perilous mistake was that you guys shut down the government and nobody cares. It doesn't affect anybody. Like, every regular person is sitting here laughing, going about their business, because this proves that the federal government is fucking useless. I made a whole video about this. You guys exposed yourself. The federal government doesn't perform any action. Do we need the IRS? Do we need the Department of Energy? Do we need the Department of Education? Do we need any of this shit? No, we don't need it. Get back to the constitutional government. You're useless. We don't follow our own constitution. You guys are wasting money. That's all you do. And the bigger the budget, the more war crimes, the more violation of people's liberties, the more terrible things we're going to do. They're not going to build roads, they're not going to build bridges, they're not building high-speed rail, they're not doing free vocational training, they're not fixing the socioeconomics in poor neighborhoods. They're not doing any of that. If you give these people money in DC, they do nothing. So you know what? Shut it the hell down. Don't operate. We don't want you. We don't need you. You're fucking useless. All right. What is this? Russia today. Israeli drone sets tents of displayed Palestinians on fire. Palestinians forced to shift camps. Israeli strikes wipe out neighborhoods. So they blow up the buildings, and now they're shooting at the tents. Oh my God, it's a brutal look. I do not want American troops going into Venezuela to seize territory. That seems like a terrible idea. You're not going to be able to hold the territory. There's no reason to take it. You're violating international law. If they come here, it's one thing. If you seize drug boats that are on their way here, that's totally different from invading another country. Why are we going into Venezuela? We don't need their oil. Are you so insecure about their relationship with China? Like, come on. I'm not saying you should accept threats, but we don't need this. Oh my God, this is another horrible news. Great. 10 years in prison, let him out. Yeah, well, you gotta let all the crooks out. Trans kids, 18 months, you're trans? Oh boy. I mean, I don't know. I don't think an 18-month-year-old would be able to make that determination. I think you have to respect people if they choose that. If somebody wants to be trans, if they choose to change their sex or whatever, then that's their decision. And you have to respect their rights and support their rights. But don't pretend like an 18-month-old can make that call. That's insane. Like, let's not be stupid. 6 p.m. Eastern today? Come on, man. Don't do that. Don't make those kinds of comments. We don't want that. We don't want that. Larry Ellison talking to Tony Blair at the World Government Summit. He describes how all data health needs to be centralized before AI can be deployed to enforce control. Well, who asked you to enforce control? Yeah. All right, guys. So, this is just a couple of news stories. This is something we can actually do. Um, when there's nothing specific I want to talk about, we'll just run down X. We'll look at stories. We'll make fun of them. We'll comment. You guys can comment if you have anything you want to talk about. Feel free. You could make a comment, make a post, and we'll talk about it. We'll discuss it. Anything related to economics, history, obviously current events. Those are the things I like to talk about. So, really looking forward to doing that with you all, and I just appreciate it. Um, hopefully you get something out of it. But I like, yeah, obviously these are my opinions are my own, but I want to share and spread the news. The main point of this channel, I say it's talking smack, but the main point of this channel is to is for everybody to engage and to realize that individual isms are not going to solve our problems. We all need to unite under a new America and a new world where we say it's not about isms. We're going to take aspects of Marx. We're going to take aspects of socialism, take aspects of from what we learned from Kant, from Nietzsche, from from Hayek, from von Mises, from we're from everybody, libertarians, conservatives, liberals, socialists, communists, capitalists. There's pieces of everything. There's pieces of Plato. There's pieces of Thoth. Pieces of the Bible. There's pieces of everything that can be used to put together for a new society, and a society that does work for everybody. It doesn't have to be threatening. It doesn't have to be an ism. I think those things tend to turn people off because you may attract people, but you're going to detract people as well. I don't want to do that. I just want everybody to feel comfortable and be in a place that works for everyone. I think there's some underlying issues in America between not owning our currency, between the fact that we have homeless people on the streets, we have grocery stores full of food, people that are hungry, we have empty commercial and residential real estate. I mean, you shouldn't have all those things together. You should either be out of houses, out of food. You can't have empty homes and have homeless. You can't have full shelves at the grocery store and have hungry people. That's embarrassing, and there's no excuse for it. Zero excuse. I don't want to hear about free markets and capitalism on that shit. Don't even start that. That has nothing to do with it. So we have to be better. We're going to get better. The sharing of information today is better than any time in the history of the world. So we are capable of sharing data, talking, discussing peacefully, and getting along. And we need more of that. Don't be divided by labels, colors, religions, anything. Don't be divided. Stay together. We'll fight for a new America, a new everything, and we'll get where we want to go. And until we do, I'll be here driving us down the road as best I can. And to those who want to collaborate with me, if you're out there, please feel free to reach out. I'd love to talk with you. Anyway, have a great Friday, everybody, and we'll see you on the flip side. Peace.